declares, the sovereign God, that when I will send famine through the land, not famine of food or of thirst for water, but famine of hearing the word of the Lord. What I gleaned from this particular text is that probably there'll be a day where there'll be scarcity of the word of God. And so what I want to do now is to create a conservatory in my spirit to hear more of the word of the Lord, and so that I could keep it for days that the Bible spoke of in Amos 8:11. And so that's why we welcome you once again to another channel of blessing. And today's show is Just Ask. It airs from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. Always make some time to join us, and so that you could be blessed. What do we do here? One thing that's for sure is that there are some questions that are very, 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 very controversial. Some are critical. Some, the man of God in your church does not really have the time to attend to that. What we do here is to bring all of the questions here to make sure that our men and women of God help us to digest them and to bring some understanding to them. And so you're in a very safe place. It's a safe haven, not judgmental platform prepared for you to be a part of. And so call a friend, tell a brother and a sister to make some time for today's show. We'll take a quick breather. When I come back, we'll have the honor to, of course, share this platform with you. Of course, the first time as well, phone lines are going to be opened. And so for those of you who want to call in, get ready and do that. And let's see how it goes. I'm sure you're going to be having a very, very good time on the show, just as I always. We'll take a break at this point. When we come back, we have more. Thanks for coming through with us. This is Just Ask. My name is Koku Lumo, and I hope your evening or your morning or your afternoon is going on well, depending on where you're watching us from. Remember that we're live on TV. We're also live on Facebook and also on YouTube, Dominion TV. All you need to do is to just connect with us, drop your comments there, your questions, your submissions, and I will be glad to share with the world. Also remember that your questions can also feature on our program prominently, and so make sure that you send your questions in. The numbers are on the screen. Any question at all, no matter how controversial it is, we are here to help you get into them. Well, my guests are seated, and I'm excited about it already because they are men who are always ready. The very first guest on my immediate left is Pastor Bernard Addy. He is also Pastor Buddy. Right? Pastor Buddy. He's our buddy, and he's with the Action Chapel International Next Gen. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Koku. Always looking sharp.
It's just a jacket and a tie. Anyways, thank you. And of course, Pastor Francis O'Krine is with the iChurch. He also joins us again and again and again.
Thank you.
How are you?
You're wonderful.
Hope all is well with you.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Anyways, so this is what we do. If you just joined us, remember that there are questions that you feel shy of asking people in church because you feel they might judge you. What you need to do really is to bring it on here, and then we discuss it. Remember also, for the first time, we're going to be having the phone calls, and so we'll allow you to call in. And so at some point, I'm going to be announcing the phone lines, and then get ready as well, save it, and then call us and let us know what you think, especially with your questions. Let's toss to the very first question. When we come back, the answers are here. How should Christians view politics? How should Christians view politics? And I'm guessing the reason why the person is asking is partisan politics. So how should Christians view partisan politics? I'm qualifying it here. And so let's come back to studio and see if we can get some answers to that. So there must be always a balance in everything we do. But for now, especially here in Africa, I don't know much of what pertains to other, jurisdictions. But I mean, if you look at Africa and how politics have gone, you find quite a number of times Christians are not ready, or they shy away of getting in. Then I'm sure that's where the person is coming from. And so let me start off with you, Pastor Okan. Christians, partisan politics, especially on our continent, what approach must we use?
For me, I think that the scriptures are quite spot on when it comes to some of these things. Jesus Christ said in Matthew chapter 5 that you are the light of the world, you are the salt of the earth. So I think politics pretty much is like every other profession, just like the doctor, just like the teacher and everything. So we are supposed to get involved, because that's the only getting involved in things like that is one of the ways we can influence society for Christ. Paul says something in 1 Corinthians 10 verse 31. It says that whether you eat or you drink or whatsoever you do, it says that do it to the glory of the Lord. So I think that we need to get into those spaces so that we can influence society. I think the challenge is what we've been taught from the pulpit. We've been taught that it's dirty, it's full of lies.
Is it not?
Well, you see, here's the thing. It's almost like asking if teaching is okay. We like to entrust our kids into the hands of people we've not met before, we've not engaged before, to know what their mindsets are, but we allow our kids to be taught by these people.
But in that setting, institutions like that, they establish their culture, what pertains in that community.
Exactly.
And so through that, you are able to, you have some expectation that when I send my kid, so and so is what we have read on their website or as they have advertised. When I send my kids, I'll get this.
You'd agree that there are things that you read or you'd probably buy a product and then they will state that this can do this and all that. But you start using it and it's not what you read about.
I see.
You get it.
Okay.
So I think that it's important we get into some of these spaces, because for as long as we keep thinking that it's dirty and all that, one other thing I want to say is that it seems as though when we talk about ministry, we're almost talking about the pulpit.
Right.
But ministry is anything that you do to glorify God.
Okay.
It is anything that, so for as long as you are submitted to God's will and you can operate wherever He wants you to operate, that for me is ministry.
I see.
And it's not every one of us who is called to the pulpit ministry.
yeah.
There are people who have been called to work, to do certain things.
Okay.
And so we need to get into those spaces so that we can do things for Christ.
Interesting. So again, just as I mentioned, made reference to the issue of culture.
Yeah.
It's what pertains to that particular. The worldly systems and you entangling yourself with some of these things is why people will shy away from it, because you are afraid that you might be compromised,
Right.
because they might be more than you, and because of the culture that pertains there, issues of godfatherism and all of that, you could be caught up in that. And that's why people will say, you know what, as a Christian, you are going to be yoked by these guys, and so stay off.
I mean, this is very interesting. The way you are coming from
Yeah.
is also very.
Yeah.
It's the same issue in Babylon when Daniel and his friends are sent there. So the Bible says that the best of the people of Judea and Israel were sent to the courts of Babylon to be trained, so that Nebuchadnezzar could use them. And so they weren't that many. And even of all the Hebrews that went there, it's only Daniel and his three friends that decided that they were going to stay true to who they were and so on and so forth. So they were just 4. So the issue of them, a lot of politicians being some way and only a few people being correct has been there since. And you would also bear me out that when Daniel stood and his convictions produced the results that he advertised, the king ended up converting. Nebuchadnezzar ended up turning to the one true God because of Daniel and because of Daniel's results.
Right.
The 3 Hebrew boys, when they were asked to bow, and the question I keep asking is, the Hebrews the other Hebrews, where were they all bowed though?
The compromise.
All of them bowed because in a situation it's bow or fire.
Yeah.
And they decided to bow because, I mean, what's wrong with me just bowing my knees for 2 or 3 seconds? It doesn't change much. But these guys are like, no. And they made it clear to the king, Daniel 3:16. They said, we are not careful to answer you. God saves us. Even if he desires us to save us, we will die. And that thing that happened, just them standing for their convictions, because they were in a place where they were exposed to power, the king saw God's power manifest and he changed. So the issue is what Rev mentioned early on, is the fact that we've not done enough from the pulpit to let people understand that politics, even though it's been painted as a dirty business and this issue of godfatherism, and for those who don't know, godfatherism is, when you enter into politics, you need somebody to hold your hand. You need somebody to mentor you. You need somebody to open doors for you. And there are people who have been in the game longer than you have.
Indeed. Done
And
things.
They've done things.
Seen things.
Seen things. They move things.
Yeah, exactly.
They can decide that you are off and you are off.
Yeah.
These are the godfathers. And so when you enter one way or the other, you will find yourself operating under one of these men.
Exactly.
And they have rules. These people have demands. And sometimes the demands that they have may border on ungodly. Because sometimes you have to do something occultic, or you have to do something corrupt, or something. So just to stay. And that is what Koku is trying to say, that as a Christian, it may be difficult for you. But again, I think if you enter and people are clear on your convictions, what you can do and what you can't do, it will even sift the kind of godfathers that you attract. Not all the godfathers are bad. Not all the godfathers demand some kind of occultic allegiance or corrupt practice. So there are those that are not. And if we change the culture of the teaching that suggests that politics is some ways bad, is evil, we will get somewhere. We will start somewhere.
Okay.
It is those in power that make the decisions. If COVID. When we started COVID, the politicians told us that no church. You stay at home and you do church online. We obeyed. You can't. Romans chapter 13 verse 1 says there's no authority except that which is ordained by God.
All right.
And that we should be subject to authorities. So the God that we serve doesn't allow us to misbehave because we don't agree with some policy or whatever.
Right.
So unless and except we as Christians take up an active role in politics and spread the light and the salt in those areas too, we will be living our lives in the hands of people who don't believe God, who don't trust God, who start making laws that promotes very strange anti-God things. And all we can do is to sit back, pray, and maybe complain and hope and wish that things will be better. We don't have to, we don't have
I see.
to.
When I return, I'll be interested in how people might, when I return to you, people should approach, if you like, cultures, and of course, the practice of going into partisan politics while
Partisan
they
politics.
do, partisan politics, because I mean that's what I'm sure the person wants to hear. But then again, you are coming from that positive side that you need more of us there. Let's look at what's happening right now. There are more Christians.
Professing Christians.
Again.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm grateful. There are more people who profess to be Christians, and they come to the churches that you, pastor, you see them.
The churches that all of us go to.
They come and campaign
You
there.
see them.
Yeah.
They come sometimes every Sunday, sometimes weekdays. They offer, they pay tithes, they offer, and then you hear them on radio and television argue on these lines. So it's not even as though they are not in politics. They
Right.
are there.
Yeah.
What's the problem then?
I
I
think
was
it's,
interested. I also want to know.
it's an issue of stepping out of purpose.
Okay.
So again, see, everyone, the one on the pulpit has an assignment to teach. Jesus Christ's last words were,
Go into all the nations.
Go into all the yes.
the
He
Great
said
Commission.
yes. So arguably the only ministry amongst the fivefold ministry gifts was the one that Jesus Christ talked about.
Teaching.
Teaching. He said, teach them to observe. It means that teaching has a way of changing mindsets.
Right.
Of course, when someone's mindset is changed, you would see it reflect in the person's lifestyle. Our problem is that we want to see a change in lifestyle without addressing what it is that is in the mind. Again, because we are not teaching the right kind of stuff. And I also think that mostly we want to be rich quickly. We are in an era where there's, forgive me if I step on toes, but papas have to receive seeds to pray for people and stuff. I was just sharing with a colleague of mine just this evening that the two sides of the divide, I will not mention them, but we know
the
them
politics here in
obviously.
Here in Ghana.
In Ghana.
Okay. Because quite a number of people are watching us.
Obviously, but
across
you'd,
the
you'd
world.
appreciate that they've had pastors follow them,
Right.
and pastors have prophesied over each of them that they are going to be, each person is going to be the next president of Ghana. So I'm sitting back and I'm asking myself that, is God confused? Which God is endorsing any of these people? So obviously someone is probably saying, someone is not telling the truth.
Obviously, yeah.
And the reason someone is not telling the truth is because something has exchanged.
Right.
Is it, what's the name? What's the name? Balaam took
Balaam, yeah.
money from
Balak.
Balak, yes. He actually knew what God wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. But because money was at the center of it, he still kept pushing, hoping that God would change his mind. And then when he realized that there was nothing that could change God's mind, he rather told Balak to, influence the people to sleep,
To sabotage themselves.
yes, to sleep with horse.
Right.
And that was the only thing that could get trouble amongst them. So we know the right thing, but because we are selfish, we always want to do the wrong thing. So it's both sides. But again, as an ending note, I want to say that, just like Osofo said, it said that is it 75% or 70% of Ghanaians claim they are Christian?
75.
You get it. Is it probably not because on the forms
On
that
the
we
form,
feel,
it's the forms.
okay. If someone says that he's a traditionalist, we would see the person as strange. So the best place or the best
Person
tag,
to take
yes,
Christian.
okay. The Bible says righteousness exalts a nation. Are we seeing righteousness? Are we seeing prosperity in our land?
Right.
We are not seeing it. It's not about people calling themselves Christians.
Right.
Are they really practicing what Jesus Christ told us to? That's a real deal.
I see. So there are questions more than there are answers, and that's why people have come. In any case, all of you who have monitored, if you're watching us from Nigeria, Kenya, anywhere in Africa or the rest of the world, the US or Europe, one of the things that are plagued our country in very recent times is the discussion of illegal mining that has destroyed our waters. And there has been, for some weeks until the issues of parliament came up, the issue of what the church can do, because most of these human beings who are leading the charge of destroying our water bodies are in the church.
Yeah.
We know them.
Right.
We cannot pretend that we do not know them. And so there comes the issue of what role can the church do? Is the church in a place where they can enforce? Right? When I say enforce, it means bring some, full force into action to compel them. If you get out of the church, is better than stay in there, or the merciful God whom we serve would have to still embrace them as and when they come.
We see,
Right, because people are also looking for the church to rise up and
the church is not a political organization.
right.
And the expectation of the world is not It doesn't bother the church. You can expect what you want to expect, from the church. Many people feel, oh, churches should be, building boreholes and look. Somebody was going on and on about this thing, and I was getting really pissed because I'm a pastor, and I've been in a church, and I know the way the church has been the whole time. 80% of the Class A schools, or so-called National Science and Maths schools is on right now. And the schools that dominate all the time are of a certain caliber. We know them.
Yes.
They are the same old schools all the time. All those schools, about 80 to 90% of them were built by churches. If churches should reclaim all these schools, what will be left? So church has done a lot. But you keep that issue aside. The question you're asking is what we should tackle. We can't sack them. That's number one. Number two, the failure of the church is on a micro level, not on a macro level. We have not done enough in terms of discipling. So people can profess Christianity, get away with doing whatever they want, use Christianity to, promote whatever selfish ambition they have and do whatever they want to do. That is the problem. The people that own the heavy machinery that they are using for this galamsey, they are big men sitting in Accra in air-conditioned offices. The people that have been arrested in those rural areas are not the real culprits. The real culprits are the people who send the heavy machinery there, who gets the mining licenses and co. They are the real people, and they are the ones you are talking about who are sitting in the churches. Because we didn't do a good job discipling such people, their parochial selfish interest drives everything they do. And they don't care if a whole nation will die because they want gold. They don't care. And that is a failure on our part as pastors. We haven't done a good job discipling. We haven't done a good job teaching people. We haven't done a good job making sure that when a person says they are Christian, they are actually Christian. We don't visit people anymore. We don't go to people's schools anymore, people's church, people's workplaces anymore. The real work of pastoring is dying. The only thing that we do is stand in the pulpit and preach. But that's just a small bit of the work. And so these people will come and tell us whatever they want to tell us and get away with it. Again, we haven't built enough structure to put people to accountability. You can't be an active member of the church and promote anti-Bible things on radio, on TV. You won't come to my church, come to, sow big seeds and go and do anti-God things on TV. You can't be associated to this and associated to that. The least I can do is to call you and tell you, hey, you are in a wrong. Again, it goes back to pastoring. If you are a good pastor, you will follow the lives of your sheep and you will try to bring them back when they are going wrong. I'm getting a bit heated because
Please do.
It's getting a bit too much.
Yes, because again,
It's
the church
getting a
has
bit
been
too
brought
much.
into these discussions to say that, well, everything has failed. Chieftaincy is down, if you like. Politics is itself, even where you are looking for mentors to mentor these people,
Yeah.
you don't find it. And so the only thing that is existing now is the church. And that's why I wanted to find out
Yes,
whether or
what we
not
can
there's
do.
more.
There is
that
more.
we can do.
So you see, for as long as, again, Bible says that godliness with contentment is great gain. That is to say that I can't think of amassing so much and think of uprooting poverty from my lineage.
Oh,
Okay, I only need as much each day as God provides. So if I need to also see to it that someone is yes.
getting blessed.
Okay. The challenge is that, like these Galamsey guys are into, they are like, excuse my language, to hell with everyone. We just want to enrich ourselves. And unfortunately, the pastors are in church and we are always waiting for seeds to be sown.
Good.
You get it? We actually pray for them. People have issues and they come to pastors to pray for them so that, something will change. A miracle will change. But if you've done something wrong, sometimes you need to face the law.
Yeah.
It is part of pastoring. And one other thing is that I think that we shouldn't assume that Christians are supposed to be gentle and meek and mild. Okay.
What Christians in this sense mean?
People who go to church.
Okay.
Okay. Sometimes you have to be loud. okay, and then oppose ideas. Now, these politicians are now coming to church to visit us because they know that
Endorsement to go along.
exactly
Yeah.
you get it. So it means that to a large extent we are important.
Okay.
Yes.
So if we are important, then we need to be calling some shots.
Okay.
So as long as we sit and we don't question, someone comes to say that I will do this in whichever period and stuff like that. We need to question and ask, how are you going to do that?
Well, so on your
You-
screen,
you-
on your screen
look at
is
that.
just what we're talking about. Where, again, these are river bodies from 2016 till this time, and so
Look at the color.
the reason why we're showing this is for you to understand where we're coming from, where Christians mostly could be also part of it. Why? Do they not know? Have they not been taught in the churches that, you know, the environment must be protected?
Koku, you
It
see,
is by
this
God.
is an economic issue.
Yes, but it is. But
The people are poor.
yes,
And they are poor because policies have not gone a certain way.
indeed.
And policies have not gone that way because the people who are supposed to make the policies
Right.
are selfish
And they themselves are also engaged
in these things.
in these things. So it's not necessarily even about the issue. So I can understand the issue of the economic issue.
Yes.
But the big man you referred to
Yes.
in the office,
Yes.
probably in the bigger city, is in church.
Yes.
Knowing very well that with the little I have, I could help people in my village. But has gone to buy a machinery.
Yes, for
what,
them to-
What message is that man listening to for which he's at the...
That is the question.
Exactly.
When we decide to focus on numbers, quantity instead of quality, this is
Right.
what we get.
Right.
Because we are stuck at a place where a successful church is a church that has a certain number of members, not a certain quality of members.
Indeed.
And so we have churches, and look, I've sat in many pastoral meetings where the issues that we are trying to crack and solve revolve around numbers. It's like, how many members do we have? That is important. That is important because if you have a lot of Christians, then you have a lot of change. When Jesus spoke about salt and light, let me take a little time to explain this thing.
Yes.
When Jesus was speaking about salt, as being a salt, when you read it in Matthew 5, you may not understand. But when you read it in Luke 12, Jesus was not talking about, when you hear a lot of pastors preach and say, oh, salt is for taste, salt is for preservation, that is far from what Jesus was saying. Jesus was not talking about salt as a preservative of taste or whatever. He said when salt has lost its saltiness, it is not good for the dunghill or for the soil. He was talking about salt being used as an antiseptic and salt being used as a fertilizer. Because when a certain number of Christians, so if Christians are the salt in those days, he was talking about KCl, potassium chloride. It's used to improve the fruitfulness or the yield of crops. And then he was talking about salt, NaCl, sodium chloride, which was used, dunghills were, there were no water closets back then. So they help themselves in the soil, they make a little mound, and you pour salt on it so that infection doesn't spread. That's what Jesus was talking about.
Okay.
So he was talking about the fact that if you have enough Christians in society, fruitfulness or good works will increase. And if you have enough Christians in society, bad works or rot and infections will decrease. It will limit. That's what he was talking about.
Okay.
He wasn't talking about taste and all the kinds of fantastic explanations we
Right,
give.
right.
And the reason that is important is that we are living in this country. America is a supposed Christian country. They use terms like "in God we trust" and so on and so forth. But they promote and advertise all kinds of demonic things. The politicians, they are Christians, professing Christians. The politicians in our country today who are refusing to address this Ghanaian issue head on are people who are professing Christians. They know that this is an existential issue. But because they haven't received the thing into their spirit, they go to church. We are just interested in them coming to church and them going, them appearing and them disappearing, and not really trying to disciple them.
Indeed.
We'll be here.
Not truly indeed trying to disciple them, and that's where we need to go back to. I don't know how far we need to go back, but it's an existential threat to anything. And so this has been our reflection, our thoughtful reflection on the complex relationship between, if you like, Christendom or you being a Christian and partisan politics. I don't know what you think of it, but you can send us messages via a live stream on Facebook and, of course, on YouTube. at some point we'll be opening the phone lines as well, and so you can get ready as well. Today is Pastor Okran's birthday, so when we come back, we're going to sing a happy birthday before we continue with the next, or if you like, maybe wait until when we are finishing, we sing for it. But happy birthday to you. Of course, there's also the big convocation, the convention of the year in the life of Action Chapel International, happening in November. I'm talking about Impact. I know it's always been an event that you've looked forward to. So it's coming up in November. I'm going to be sharing those details with you shortly by way of art. And so we'll take a break. And of course, here it is, November 24th to the December 1st. And so quite a number of people are going to come through and make sure that you save yourself a seat, your family, your friends who are elsewhere in the region and in the world. We are going to Impact 24th of November, of course, till the 1st of December. So get ready for that. We'll take a break. When we come back, the show continues. Remember, this is Just Ask. My name is Kokulumo. I'm still here waiting for you. I'll see you soon.
What I'm about to declare, you don't need to believe it. Whether you believe or you don't believe, it is done.
I came here to tell somebody, if your past is as wretched as misery, you can still make an impact.
Our world today has not yet built technology to ignore power. In the name of Jesus, I come by the rod of the apostolic and the prophetic, and I declare every objection against you is hereby dismissed. Every objection against you is overruled. Somebody say overruled, 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 overruled. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes.
Bethel Revival Choir presents Akbe Experience 2024 under the theme The Revival. Date Sunday 3rd November 2024. Venue Global Evangelical Church, Trinity Chapel, Kotobabi. Time 5 p.m. Gates opening at 4 p.m. Ministering our Bethel Revival Choir, Pastor Edwin Datson, Pastor Helen Yosin, Ike Nano, Dave the Music Box, Luigi McLean, Osborne, Rafia, Quindalin, and many more. Rate 50 Ghana Cedis single, 150 Ghana Cedis VIP. Tickets are available at Global Evangelical Church, Trinity Chapel, Kotobabi, Accra, Channel 1 TV, Tesano, City FM, Adabraka, www.bethelrevivalchoir.com, USSD code *713*33*114#. Tickets hotline 0544-222-154. Sponsors GEC, Trinity Chapel, Volta Green Hill Properties, Stephen Zion Productions, Upswing Music, Jeanette Services, Rema Impressions, Kafkat Productions, HKD Studios, and Heaven Community Studio. Media partner Dominion TV.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. We're grateful. This is Just Ask. If you just joined us, we've been talking. The first question that we dealt with concerned the issue of Christians and partisan politics, how we should maneuver and, of course, navigate the very complex relationship between those two, whether or not we should go in there or we should be there. So how should we view politics? And I'm sure it has to do with issue of participation and all of that. And so let us know what you think as well. Pastor Franz Okran is celebrating the birthday, so you can also drop your birthday wish. I'll be glad to share with him. Happy birthday to you. That's coming from your family, your wife and children, and so they are saying happy birthday to you. And so for now, let's quickly open the phone lines 055 3173 055 055 3173 is the phone line. You can call us, let us know what you think. You keep it short, and then that's the phone line on Rava 050 334 8190 050 334-8190. You can call us and let us know. 1 minute, go straight to the point, and let's hit it. Let's go to the next question, even as we await your calls and, of course, your messages on our live stream. Let's toss to the next question now. What's the balance between faith and works? What is the balance between faith and works? The balance between faith and works is the very simple but rather complex question. So let me just quickly do that, and so that we can save ourselves some very good. So my two texts that I'll go between, so that you can help us.
James 2 and verse 40.
Of course.
James 2 and verse 26.
Okay, that's fine. So you know about that one.
All right.
And of course, mine has also to do with Ephesians 2, 8 to 10.
Okay.
Okay, exactly. So let's just read it for them. And if you have a Bible there as well, you can also come along. So James chapter 2, 14, right down to 26. So I'll just read some few things. So what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? 15. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds. I'll show you my faith by my deeds. You believe there is one God, good. Even the demons believe that and shudder, right? But let's go to what Ephesians says, right? Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. Let me start off, because it's fired up, we can start off with it. Okay, let me start off with you, Pastor Francis.
I think that the scriptures you just read are two different things.
Yeah, two different things. First from James
Exactly.
2, and then I did Ephesians 2.
Exactly. So I think Ephesians tackles you trying to use works to get God's approval.
Okay.
Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Okay. So before man sinned, everything was okay and all that. Man sins, God comes into the garden, asks where man is. Man says that I heard your voice, and then I went to hide. Yes. And we also know that man had put together fig leaves and had covered himself. Okay. That's like trying to cover my nakedness in spite of my fall. And it wasn't pleasing to God. Genesis chapter 11, Tower of Babel, right? I'm thinking that, I mean, there's nothing bad in trying to see God. So men come
When you say
together.
trying to see God, what do you mean?
I want to pursue God. I desire to know God and all that. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, God says that we should seek Him, and we would find Him. So men come together. They decide to build a tower into heaven so they can see God. But the idea was that so we'll make a name for ourselves. Pride. Okay, then we would see God without God's efforts. God comes and then He scatters everything.
Right.
That's how come we have all the languages we have. So effort without God's intervention is not. But then when God, that's what Ephesians tackles. Grace gets us saved. When grace gets us saved, you still need works in the mix. But the works, the energy behind the works is fueled by faith in God.
I see.
Yes, that's how it works.
Okay.
So you can't do things. It's just like there's one other example. So there's the rich young ruler who went to see Jesus, and he was like, "What can I do to be saved?" And Jesus loved him. He was like, "Go and obey the commandments." The guy said,
I've done all these.
I've been doing that from my childhood. Now, I'm thinking that Jesus Christ didn't even bring in the issue of lusting after women. But the guy says that I've been doing this since I was a child. Jesus Christ loved him and he said that there is one other thing you lack. He says, go and sell all that you have, give it to the poor, and come and follow me.
Okay.
Okay, that's like ridding yourself of everything that makes you you. And then relying wholly on God. And that is where grace comes in.
Okay.
The man walked away.
Okay.
So if you want to please God on your terms, that is what God says, no. But grace is pleasing God on his terms. So once he gets you saved, you've exchanged places with Christ. Second Corinthians chapter 5. So once we exchange places with Christ, God sees Christ in us. So everything that we do is seen as pleasing in his sight. Okay. So that's the difference.
You can call us 050-334-8190. 050-334-8190. If you're calling from outside, you add the +233, which is, of course, our country code, and then you speak to us. So I know God is not the author of confusion, but in one breath, said balance it. In another, this one.
So in James chapter 2, well, let's start from
Ephesians.
Ephesians 2:8 is talking about how we get saved.
Okay.
And it's talking about the fact that we are not saved by our own effort. We are not saved by anything that we can ever do. The reason we are Romans 5:8 says that yes, God's love demonstrated. That's why we're still sinners, Christ died for us. We didn't do anything to deserve the salvation that we have. God did it, initiated it. We didn't even know him. And he died for us. So we can't then claim to say that it is because of something we did or something we said, that's why we are saved. That's what Ephesians 2 is talking about. And so Ephesians 2 is talking about the fact that when we heard the gospel, all that we had to do to be saved was to express our faith by professing our mouth, by believing in our hearts first. Romans chapter 10, 9 and 10. It is with the heart that man believes, and then with the mouth confession is made unto salvation.
Right.
And so we believed with our hearts, we confessed our. That's how we became saved. It's not because we did anything, to prove to God that we've changed. In fact, many of us, even after we've been saved, we are still struggling with things. We are still trying to change from things. We are still trying to improve. And so we can't stand anywhere and say that we are accepted by God because we did A, B, C, and D. But now, James chapter 2 is talking about the fact that now that you have believed, it's not enough for you to just say that you believe. You must prove by what you do that you believe what you say you believe. Because the faith that we profess as Christians is a responsibility. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1 says, faith is evidence.
I see.
It's substance.
I see. So there's someone on the line. I understand your name is Mr. Dodo. So tell us your name, where you're calling us from. Let's know what's on your mind.
My name is Edmond Dodo, like you said. I'm calling from Goss.
Gossip.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
Very
well.
far.
Let's know what's on your mind.
I heard the presentation of Matthew chapter 5 verse 13. Matthew chapter 5 verse 13, where it talks about
By the light of the world.
the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its flavor, where we shall the salt get?
Right.
It is not good for nothing. And then one of your panel members was giving some interpretation to it, and he was saying those days we use salt to fertilize the land or something. And but I think it is neither here nor there. So if you can come again on it,
Okay.
I think I'll be happy.
Okay. Very well. We'll do that again. Thank you very much, Mr. Dodo. You are indeed our very first ever caller. Very first ever caller on Just Ask, and I'm sure on this network as well. And so thank you very much. You can also call 050-334-81910. 050-334-81910. You can check the phones phone line on the net. So you want to do that quickly before you go back? Right.
So the scripture he quoted was Matthew 5:13. It says, you are the salt of the earth. If the salt has lost its saltiness, then it is good for nothing and has to be trampled underfoot by men. That's what Matthew says. This says nothing about the use of salt.
Okay.
It just says that salt is good, but then when salt becomes worthless, it is trampled upon by under the feet of men.
Indeed.
Now, the same thing is said in Luke chapter 14, verses 34 and 35. It says, "You are the salt of the earth. If the salt has lost its saltiness, how can it then be salted again? It is neither fit for the soil nor fit for the dunghill." So Jesus in Luke chapter 14 was now telling us what uses of salt he had in mind when he was talking about you are the salt of the earth.
Right.
So he said the salt, if it is not salty anymore, has lost its purpose or its usefulness for the soil or for the dunghill. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what is the role of salt in a soil? What do you use salt for in a soil? This was what led me to the study or the research on what salt did in a soil back then.
Okay.
That's when I discovered that. You know when primary school we learned fertilizer NPK 30,
Yes,
30,
yes,
30,
yes.
Nitrogen, potassium.
Indeed.
Yes. You know, the K over there, no. You know, nitrogen and nitrogen is good for the roots. The phosphorus is for the leaves and the branches, and the potassium is for the fruits. And KCl, you know, back then where Jesus was set, the culture, he was talking to people set in a certain culture. They get salt from the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea, by the way, is the saltiest sea in the world. And on the shore of the Dead Sea, they don't get only sodium chloride, which we know is table salt. They also get potassium chloride.
Okay.
And so the potassium chloride was for fertilizer. They used it to, you know, manage their crops, increase their yield, and so on. But they also got sodium chloride, which they used for the dunghill. And I explained that the dunghill was like a little mound that they made after they had, you know, eased themselves to sort of indicate that there's something. Then they put the sodium chloride on it to inhibit infection.
Okay.
And some of the salt sellers, in order to sell more salt, they mixed the salt with sand. That's what Jesus said. That's what he meant when he said that if salt has lost its saltiness, where you get the salt from, you can mix it with some of the things around. So he was talking about the influence of the world entering the church.
Okay.
The influence of the system of the world infiltrating the church. He said if that becomes the case, then the church becomes useless. It becomes a laughing stock. People just, it will be trampled underfoot by men.
Right.
That's what Jesus was trying to say.
Interesting. So I'm sure that's clearer to you. 0503348190 is the number to call. You can also call us. Let us know what you think. It could be part of your thoughts, your submissions, or even follow-up questions on what we're discussing. So quickly, you could finish up on the issue of faith and works before
So
I go
what
to
I was
Pastor
saying
Okra.
is that in James chapter 2, James is addressing the issue of people who are professing Christians but are unable to prove it by what they do. Because faith in essence is substance, is evidence. What is evidence? In legal parlance, evidence is anything that proves or disproves a fact in a court of law. And so anything that we can see, anything we can touch, anything that we can allude to, that proves or disproves a fact that you are trying to make. And so James chapter 2 verse 14 was saying, in fact verse 15 talks about the fact that if you see a brother or a sister destitute and is in need of daily food, and you say to them, be warm, be filled, and you don't give them what they need for their body, what have you done? That kind of faith. You know, in verse 14 it says, that kind of faith cannot save anybody. It says, if somebody says, I have faith but not works, can that faith save? If you read it in NLT, it says, can that type of faith save anybody? It's talking about a type of faith that merely stays in the mouth. It doesn't show. Yes. So there are people who are pornographic actors and actresses. Stay with me, please.
So there's somebody on the line. Peter from Seshi is calling us. Chefs. Peter is calling us from Seshi. Is on the line. Hi, Peter. Good evening. Beta, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Very well. You're on air. Talk to us.
Yeah, the name is Peter, not Peter.
Okay, very well. You're on air. Talk to us. What's on your mind?
Right. So, what I'm saying is, I want to add something to the program. So, Philippians 2. Philippians 2. If you read 12 and 13, Paul was telling us that. So, this is between the balance of faith and works. And I want to dwell on the faith.
Okay.
Like Paul says that, therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my purpose, only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Paul is telling us that the salvation we receive is already in us. It's already in us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the working in it says that work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Most times we believers misconstrue this whole thing. We forget to go to the verse 13, which says that it is God who does the work. It is God who does the work. The work is not meant for the believer to do, but God is going to help you to do it. God will work it out. He didn't say work for. He says work out. It is God who works in you. So you can't do the work on your own.
Okay.
God will help you do
Do the
it.
work. Okay.
So just as you believe, just as you obeyed, right? You believe before you obey. So as you have obeyed, God will help you to work this salvation out. You can't do it on your own.
Okay.
Galatians says, right? Ephesians says, it is you are saved by grace through faith,
Okay.
not by works.
Okay.
Lest any man should boast.
Interesting.
That's my contribution. God bless you guys.
God bless you as well, and thank you for being the second caller on our show. Ever. Ever. I see. I don't know whether we have some time, but I mean, you heard what he's saying.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your brother, actually. Oh, I see. Okay. The semblance in the voice.
Anyway, so let me just add this. In Genesis chapter 1, God spoke. In Genesis chapter 2, he worked. So that's to say that faith, confessions, and actual work will go hand in hand. You can't confess your way into prosperity. You can't confess your way into... so even when it comes to the issue of salvation, after confessing Jesus as your Lord and personal Savior, you need to live for Him. So you can't constantly be going to places where you be tempted,
Right.
and you actually be tempted, and you think that God would keep you away from it. You get it. So there's an issue of efforts, but the effort is not your human effort, as it were.
Okay.
Like he said, it is God who gives you the grace to do that. So you stay away from certain things. So faith and then works, they go hand in. They are like Siamese twins.
Okay.
You can't decouple one
I see.
from the other. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's do some final words before.
I was before the call. I was
Yeah.
about to say that there are people who are pornographic actors who go and receive awards and say, first of all, I want to thank God. You know, yeah. Yeah.
I see.
There are people. When you watch the Grammys, you
Yes.
find somebody who has played a song about bottles and money.
Yeah.
And when it comes to take the award, you say, "Oh, first of all, I want to thank God." See, faith without works, it makes it such that you can profess God and not feel any obligation to do anything to prove that you actually
Right.
believe in this God.
see.
And so you can do whatever you want and still say, "I'm a Christian." You can buy heavy duty machines for Galamsey, destroy the water, and still say, "I'm a Christian." That's faith without works. When you have works, what it means is that you care about what God cares about, and you care about what He says you should do, and you actually do it, regardless how it makes you feel.
I see.
And His Spirit will make it, like what Bita was saying, His Spirit will make it possible for you to be able to overcome whatever contrary edge that you may have. So final, what I would want to say is this. Pastors, let's be serious. Let's be serious. Let's do this pastoring thing. Let's pastor people actually. Let's disciple people
them.
actually.
Yeah.
And not just be concerned with filling pews and setting number targets, 500, 200. All those things are good. We need to make sure that we send the gospel to all creation, but we need to care more about quality just as much as we care about the quantity.
Indeed. You're going to be singing the happy birthday song for, of course, I'll back you. But, of course, it's been a very wonderful time. Pastor Francis Okran is with I Church. And, of course, from the Ashley Chapel International, Next Gen is Pastor Bernard Adi. Remember that Impact is from the 24th of November to December
1st of
7th.
December.
Make sure that
December
you
1st.
key December 1st, forgive me, key these onto your calendars. Remember to tell all your family members to come through for that particular convention. It's a convocation, it's a gathering of all saints. It's non-denominational. You need to come. Impact is for everyone, not for members of the Action Chapel International. And so you can see our guest. There's Apostle Joshua Selman, Pastor Iswood Anaba, Apostle Isi Genegba. All of them are coming through, of course. The Archbishop himself will be there to bless us. So 8 days and 8 nights of power. Remember, it's timely intervention, and it's for, of course, Impact 2024. It's live here. It will be live here at Action Chapel International Prayer Cathedral. Also, remember, and it has to be said, that the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams is a father to many, many across the world. Indeed, he's prayed for a lot of governments across Africa, to Europe, to the United States of America. Indeed, here in his home country, he has men and women, sons and daughters from across the political divide, the NDC and the MPP, all ZPP, all of them. Indeed, some of them even come to church here at Action Chapel International. And as we know, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams does not have a political party. It has not have a political card. It's not shown us that he's part of any political party. Indeed. And so the smear campaign on him has to stop. All you need to do now is to pray for Ghana and support him to pray for Ghana. And that's why on the 15th of November, as he does all the time during election year, he gathers men and women, especially young people, school children, everyone. We pray for the country. Is coming off again on the 15th of November at Action Chapel International. We're bringing everyone. It's non-denominational. All young people are coming to pray for the safety of Ghana, for the prosperity of Ghana, before, during, and after the elections on December 7th. And so please stop the smear campaign against the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and rather support him to pray for Ghana. I'm sure that goes deep into all of us. And before we go, it's been a wonderful time. Thank you for making some time as our special guest to join us. Happy birthday to Pastor Francis Okran. And of course, thank you to our 2 callers, first and second caller of Just Ask. We love you so very much. Would you help us sing happy birthday to... I know. So let's sing happy birthday to Pastor Francis Okran. Let's go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.